Hello everybody and welcome to overclockerstech.com. As we continue on with our review of the Thermaltake FrioOCK, we're going to go ahead and do a video and show you the correct way to install the CPU cooler to a motherboard. We went ahead and applied a BB sized dot of thermal paste, and we also put the memory in just to make sure we don't have a clearance problem. So let's get started. Let's get some of this out of our way. First thing you're going to want to do is grab a hold of the cooler, and you need to pull this bracket assembly off of it, and you do that by grabbing a hold of these levers. There's one on each side, and you just push them out and it will slide off of the cooler like that. Go ahead and set that aside. And we can set that aside. Now, first thing we're going to do is put the backing plate on. And this backing plate has an AMD marking and an Intel marking. Depending upon what you're using it for, the marking for your platform needs to be facing away from the back of the motherboard. So we're going to be putting this on an Intel. So the Intel marking is going to be away from the back of the motherboard. The other thing to note too is on the Intel application there's 3 holes here, and those are going to need to be lined up with these 3 right there. So if you grab the backing plate, set it on there just like that, kind of hang on to it. And the first thing you're going to want to do is grab one of the long bolts right here and slide it through like that. Now the holes on the back of the backing plate are actually slotted, so when you put the bolt in, it's going to bite and hold it so it won't spin on you as you tighten it down. So anyway, once you have one of those put in, go ahead and grab one of these plastic nuts. It's got a pretty solid side to it, and it's also got a hollow side. You want to put the hollow side down. So you just grab it, spin it on there, and you don't need to over tighten it. And once you get one of them in there, obviously the rest of them are going to be a lot easier. So you go ahead and put all 4 of those on. And you want to be careful not to over tighten these. They don't need to be super tight. You'll actually kind of feel them bottom out and stop as you put them in. And when you get to that point, you know you're where you need to be. Okay, one more. Okay, now that those are put in, you probably want to go back and double check and make sure that you're lined up correctly back there and everything's nice and flush, and it looks like we're good to go. So let's go ahead and set that down. Now there's 2 sets of brackets here. These are for AMD, these are for Intel, which we'll be using. So we can go ahead and set these aside. We won't be needing those. Okay, next we're going to want to install these brackets, and they just slide over the bolts that you just put in. And they're held in place with these. So go ahead and screw those down. You're not going to want to tighten these all the way at first, because when you go to put the cooler down on the brackets, you're going to want a little bit of adjustment to get the main hold down screws on easily. So we'll just go ahead and kind of put those in place. Okay, now that those are on, let's set this aside. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is get the hold down brackets installed. So that basically entails using the 4 provided screws and the 2 brackets. So you basically just hold it in place, or you might actually just drop a screw down in there first, be easier to work with, and line it up and screw them in. So you need to work your way around with all 4 screws and the 2 brackets. Now these you can go ahead and tighten down all the way. It's a lot easier if you go ahead and drop the screw down in to the hole there before you attempt to put them in. Okay, we'll go around and check, make sure we're secure on all 4. And we're looking good. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and mount the heatsink to the motherboard. So let's go ahead and get that in position. And get it as close as you can lined up, and see if you can get a screw started on each side. And this is where leaving those side brackets a little loose is going to help you. Okay, and then just kind of work your way back and forth. And you should eventually feel the springs bottom out. And that will be your indication that you're down all the way. Now also at this point you can go ahead and tighten down the 4 screws that we left a little loose. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, you'll feel them bottom out. Okay, all that's left at this point is to go ahead and put the outer shell back on, which we will do. principle. Just grab a hold of these side pieces and just slide it back over, and you'll feel it lock in on the side panels here when you get it down all the way. And there you go. It's installed and ready to go.